This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Some matches are temporary, but your privacy shouldn't be. With Line 2, you get a second phone line just for dating. No need to share your personal number until you're ready. You can chat, text, and even block numbers, all while keeping things fun and private. It's perfect for online dating, blind dates, or just keeping things light. When you're ready to move on, Line 2 lets you cut ties without any drama. Dating should be fun and carefree. Line 2 keeps it that way. Ready to date on your terms? Visit line2.com/audio or download Line 2 in the App Store today.
Just in case you missed it, it's the top 5 sports talkers of the day. Now, it's time for Dan Barreiro's Top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
Always happy to steal a bit. You know, if somebody passed away today, I would do Ode to a Dead Guy. If there was some crazy story, we'd do This Is the End. But it's Top 5 at 5 at exactly 5:06. Give Sam, I think, your first chance, right?
Yeah.
To throw some stuff together, the top sports stories of the day. What you got for us, my man?
Well, it's like career milestone for me, I guess. Let's start, though, with the not-so-good stuff. The Lynx lose last night, 74-59 to the Indiana Fever, the Caitlin Clark-less Indiana Fever. So Indiana hoists the Commissioner's Cup on the Lynx floor. But an interesting nugget, the last 2 seasons, the Commissioner's Cup teams have gone on to face each other in the WNBA Finals.
And the loser of the Cup game has won the title.
That's right.
So we got that going for us, which is nice.
Maybe a chance for retribution down the line.
Maybe so. It's funny, when Trent was in studio yesterday and we're talking about the game at Target Center, he said, beware of Indiana. We saw it a few months ago. The Pacers come in without their best player, in this case, players. I think their entire starting lineup was out, and they stunned the Wolves, who probably took their foot off the gas. No Halliburton, no Siakam, no Miles Turner. We got this. And I can't say that's what happened with the Lynx, but it's funny, isn't it, that Caitlin Clark's in street clothes, and maybe the Lynx players lose just that edge, knowing that they're without their leader. And, man, it looked so good early. I was out family dinner at, sister-in-law's house and looking at the score, and they're up early, and they're up 8, and I'm thinking, that's kind of what I expected. The line, I think, was 7 or 8, 9. I think once Caitlin was ruled out, I saw it went up to 10.5 points.
10.5, yeah.
And then I drive home, and they're down 8, and I turned it on. It was on Amazon Prime. You had to find it, unless you wanted to listen to it on the fan, of course. But I was home. I wanted to watch it, and I just was stunned at just how feeble the Lynx looked. They couldn't make a shot. They shot 35%. It was Nafisa's worst game of the season for sure. It wasn't just her. It was just one of those games, right? It just happens. It just happened at the wrong time. Not that it hurts you in the standings. It doesn't count. But it hurt the ladies in their pocketbooks. They gave up a chance to win, to earn over $30,000 apiece.
That's right. Which,
again, in the world of pro sports, you think $30,000 apiece, that's nothing. That's, tip money. But in the WNBA, of course, that's huge money. And so a golden opportunity to make some dough passes by, and Cheryl Reeve gets an opportunity to maybe get their attention when they have 3 home games over the next 4 days. I have a feeling we'll see a slightly different Lynx team tomorrow night at Target Center.
That's right. They play Washington Mystics tomorrow night. And then just one quick note, the Red Panda injury. So no news yet, but Red Panda did exit the halftime show with an apparent wrist injury. She was taken to a local hospital. So if we do get an update on Red Panda, we'll be sure to let you know. So from a tough night in Minneapolis to a tough night in South Beach, Miami, the Twins lose 2-0 to the Miami Marlins. Miami wins their 8th straight. The Twins lose their, I think it was 3rd or 4th straight.
3rd, yeah.
It's the first time in Twins history that the team has been held to 2 or less hits in back-to-back games. So,
wow.
Kind of a tough stretch here for the Twins right now.
Yeah, and we talked about it earlier. They haven't had a base runner get to third base in the last 2 full baseball games, which is obviously horrible. We did get to see Royce Lewis back. He got a double. That was nice to see. Gingerly rounded first and went to second. He definitely did not have full acceleration going, didn't need to. The other Twins news of the day, Bailey Ober this isn't one of your 5, is it? You only had one.
I was going to just add it in.
Please do. So, I don't want to step on your touchdown call here.
I was just going to say Bailey Ober did get sent to the 15-day IL. In the last 5 games, he's been 0 for 5 with a whopping 9.00 ERA.
Left hip impingement, which definitely sounds painful. And there was an article, I forget now where I read it, Star Trib, Athletic, I forget, my apologies, that was kind of a mystery. Like, what's going on with Bailey Ober? He was so good the first, couple months of the season. The last 7 starts, he's kind of looked like a different guy. So clearly he's dealing with something. That 15-day thing is retroactive to June 29th. So I'm guessing through the All-Star break, perhaps, before the Twins get Ober back. And we'll talk to Lavelle bottom of the hour about the banged-up starting rotation and where the Twins go from here. And they wasted a really nice effort from Joe Ryan last night.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. Let's go here. So this story published a couple of hours ago from Sports Illustrated. It sounds like Alec Lewis of The Athletic is reporting that Week 1 return for Vikings tackle Christian Darrisaw is, quote, probably a rosy expectation, according to Vikings insiders.
Really?
And, yeah, as we all know, the Vikings will play their Week 1 game, Monday Night Football, September 8th at Soldier Field. So what are your initial thoughts on that news that Darrisaw might miss the beginning of the season?
That's not good. When did he tear what part of the season was it? I forget.
It was in October last year. I don't remember what week it was, but it was the Thursday night game against the Rams.
All right, so I guess that's not, usually they say it's about a 12-month deal, and sometimes it's 10 or 11 months. Sometimes it's a little bit longer. When you're dealing with an offensive tackle, it's obviously a bigger bodied individual. That's big. I don't know do you know off the top of your head, Mr. Viking fan, who the backup left tackle is? For your Vikes? I don't have that in front of me.
I don't. Cam Robinson is now, as we all know, with the Houston Texans. So I tried to look it up, and I couldn't see anything immediately. So, some big questions there to start the season.
I mean, for JJ, who's going to take the field in prime time, division road game against a very good defense led by a really good coordinator now in Dennis Allen. If the Bears know that the rookie making his first start in prime times without his stud left tackle, that changes the game plan for KOC, I would think. I would think it was going to be run heavy anyway. I would think it would be even more so unless they feel really good about Darrisaw's backup. Let's hope he doesn't miss too much time. Look, I'm a Packer guy. I want every team to be whole as much as possible, and I know Darrisaw is en route to being one of the really fine left tackles in this league. If it is 1 week, let's hope that's all it is. But that is a concerning thing when you've got a rookie throwing out in prime time on the road for his debut, for sure.
I'll let you choose the next one. We have 2 NBA stories. Do you want to do Knicks or Spurs fan line?
Let's do I don't know. Let's do Spurs fan line.
Sure.
What do you got?
So let me just pull up the story here. So the 4-letter network is published a story by the Associated Press. The NBA has adjusted Greg Popovich's career record as a coach of the San Antonio Spurs, removing the 77 games that he missed last season due to his medical absence. So his record is now 1,390 wins, 824 losses. And he is still the winningest coach in NBA history, so not much is really going to change there. But the NBA did make that decision, and they credited that record of those 77 games to their current head coach, who filled in for Pop last year, Mitch Johnson.
I'm surprised they gave them to Pop in the first place, right? I mean, if you're out, and obviously he was recovering from a stroke, really happy to hear that he has recovered, but not to the point where he could coach anymore. He's still going to be running the show in San Antonio, at least for the time being. Knowing his value system, I don't think he'll have a problem at all with that. I'm sure it's not even a big thing for him. Like, I wasn't out there. I'm not getting any credit. So no, I'm not surprised to hear that. I know your Knicks thing was probably that Mike Brown's going to be their next head coach.
What?
Which has to rather rankle Knicks fans who can't be too excited about going from Tibbs to Mike Brown, who I happen to think is a nice coach, but he's coached 17 teams in this league right now, and I don't know if it really moves the needle for the Knicks. Yeah,
Mike Brown will be the 32nd Knicks head coach in franchise history. He has a regular season record of 454 and 303. And most recent stop in Sacramento, he did end their 16-year playoff drought.
I thought he was fired too soon, frankly. I am glad he gets a chance, but I wouldn't wish that job on anybody, to be honest. That's really a no-win situation out there.
Speaking of no-win situations, I'm going to mention the Wild just because I feel like if I don't mention the Wild signings today...
Fallness will be on line 7.
Right.
Yeah.
And then if I do mention the Wild signing, I'm just going to upset the Rubes. But the Wild did sign 5 players to contracts today. Bill Guerin did a press release with the Wild. So if you're chomping at the bit for Wild free agency, go ahead and take a look. But nothing that really jumped out of the page, I think, when you and I talked about off the air.
Yeah, and we had Pat Micheletti on in the 4 o'clock hour to get his thoughts. Maybe the 2 that you want to know about: Tyler Pitlick, local kid from Centennial. He's 33 now. He's technically not a kid, but when you get to be my age, 33 still feels like a kid. He comes here after spending last year in the AHL with Boston, a long time in the NHL. He returns to his hometown, and they added a third goalie in Cal Peterson, who might get a shot at being the number 3 guy. The others, again, more roster fill-in. Mick did a nice job chatting about them. You can check that out on the podcast version of this show once we are done. Is that 5?
That's 5.
That is fun.
6.
Nice work.
Thank you.
Nice work, Sam. Debut. Very nice. Appreciate that. We'll pause here. Bottom of the hour, Lavelle E. Neal III, who is in the house. A bit surprised. I didn't know. You kind of felt like he'd be here. I did not realize we would have Lavelle in the house. I may not just let him go. I may lock the door and make him stick with me until we're done. Can't wait to dive into things with him. At the bottom of the hour, we'll have a shorter segment. When we come back, we'll catch up on more news of the day on the Fan. Sinykin in for Barreiro. Back right after these.
And the Fan and BigDeck.com wants to give you a shot to win bonus bucks with our national cash contest. Enter the keyword cash at KFAN.com now for your shot to win. That's keyword cash at KFAN.
Ugh. Spam calls. Sound familiar? Introducing Line 2. Get a second phone number right on your existing phone. Imagine discounts, appointments, online forms. Handle it all without giving out your personal number. It's like having a secret weapon against spam. And when those unwanted calls sneak through, boom, blocked. No more interruptions, no more stress. Stay connected, stay protected. Keep your main number safe and out of harm's way. Ready to take back your phone? Visit line2.com/audio or download Line 2 in the App Store today.
Fan.com now.
All right, we're back. 5:22 on the Fan. Still trying to play a little catch-up here as Lavelle will join in the bottom of the hour. This will be a shorter segment to get back on track. You know, I love perusing, besides X, which I talked about earlier during breaks, I love perusing the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line as well. Love when you guys interact with us. And it's just so interesting when you just get the just polar opposite texts that come in back-to-back. Exhibit A. Talking with Johnny Athletic earlier about Luka Garza and Josh Minot, both being cut loose by the Wolves and both ending up at the Boston Celtics. They were both due to make like $2 million and change if the Wolves were to bring them back. And they made the decision after several years of service and not a real clear path to playing time, in essence, kind of doing them a solid. Like, yeah, we're cutting you, but, you know, maybe there's interest out there. And both of them landed like on the first day of free agency. So they landed on their feet. And in Luka's case, as Johnny mentioned, they moved off of Kristaps Porzingis and Luke Cornett. So they've got big man minutes. Luka's going to get a chance to play for a Boston team that, yes, they're kind of retooling, but still are very talented and probably believe they still have a chance in the East. I referred to Garza as a fan favorite, which caused Jake and Egan to write in fan favorite with 4 question marks. Because they really tried to make a point. 2 question marks is not enough.
No.
4 question marks. Fan favorite, Luka Garza stinks. I'm going to be, use the word for radio. And I'm so happy to see him gone. Can't guard a cone. So Jake, not a fan. Very next text from Scott. That's ridiculous reasoning to let them walk for nothing. What if we have a couple injuries and need Garza? Why not spread the minutes out? So peeved, we let Garza go. And that's what makes sports so fun. Just
right.
Polar opposite opinions. And, I mean, bottom line is, if you are considering yourself a title contender, which the Wolves clearly do, they've been in the Final Four, the last 2 years, Josh Minot and Luka Garza are not moving the needle for a team like this.
Right.
And they've been, to use a cliche, really good soldiers for a few years. And Garza in particular, you hear about, sunny disposition, works hard, never complains, rarely got minutes, and never worried about, why am I not getting some time to play here? They did all they were asked to do, and their time ran out, and they landed on their feet. That's good for them. Fans get so emotionally attached sometimes to guys on the end of the bench, and I wouldn't be surprised if Luka carves out a nice little career, and Wolves fans, if they see him getting 15, 20 minutes, and we've seen the offensive potential, scoring 12, 15 points a night here, a night there. I'm going to be one saying good for Luka. Like, sweet. I'm glad you got a chance. But my team has higher expectations, and I'm not in a spot where I want to see Luka play 15 minutes unless there's a catastrophe. So I'm all for what the Wolves did here, and, again, opening up a chance at their two young kids to become backup centers of the future and maybe getting a little cup of coffee here and there. Quickly, this nugget I saw, and I just wanted to touch on it off the C-section for a minute. Sam, are you a movie guy at all? Do you like going to movies?
Absolutely.
Okay. Are you old enough to remember the movie Airplane?
I remember watching it as a kid, but it was before my time for sure.
I'm sure it was because it came out 45 years ago today.
Really? Wow.
That was the year, I don't even want to say this. That was the year I graduated high school, 1980. And it was a seminal movie for me because I was in Milwaukee. I grew up there, and all the producers were Milwaukee guys. The Zucker brothers and Jim Abrams were Milwaukee guys, and I knew some of their family members that were my age that I went to school with. So cool. The Zuckers are making a movie. They had done a kind of a cult movie earlier called Kentucky Fried Movie that was much raunchier.
I remember that, actually.
Similar kind of humor. And if you saw Airplane, which I'm sure most of you did, it's just very silly humor. Leslie Nielsen, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Ted, whatever the main dude's name is, escapes me, whatever. For my money, and hilarious, just hilarious movie. And it gave way to the Naked Gun movies, which followed with Leslie Nielsen, which was an offshoot of a very short-lived TV series called Police Squad that I think only had 6 episodes. But if you can find them on YouTube, you got to watch them. They are hysterical if you like that kind of humor, just silly humor, which I indeed like a lot. The Naked Gun movies were funny. To me, they weren't quite what Airplane was, but you had Leslie Nielsen back. O.J. Simpson was in those movies. Mm-hmm. And there were 1, 2, 3 of those. I forget.
There was 3 of them, yeah.
Did you see they're remaking it this summer?
I was just going to ask you, how do you feel about Liam Neeson stepping in?
Perfect. Have you seen the trailer?
Oh, I didn't even know there was a trailer.
The trailer is hilarious. And so Seth MacFarlane produced this new movie, the new Naked Gun. And if you saw Ted, remember the scene from Ted where Liam Neeson walks into the grocery store with a box of tricks?
Absolutely.
And he wants to buy, and couldn't be funnier, deadpan, like, it's my understanding that these are for children. Am I allowed to purchase this box of cereal? And you won't come after me if I do buy. And he's like treating it like he's hiding it under his coat as he's leaving. Like, I won't let you know. I won't let anybody know you let me do this. He's so perfect in that deadpan role because you think of him as action hero, or you think of him as Oscar Schindler in one of the most, dark, moving movies of the 21st century, Schindler's List. It's inspired casting, in my opinion. And, you watch the trailer and you go, I feel like I've seen all the jokes now. I hope there's more to it because you put Seth MacFarlane into this role of trying to keep this tradition going of the Naked Gun. And I have very high hopes. I know people are excited about Superman and some of the big movies coming out this summer. August 1st, Naked Gun 2, whatever they're calling it. I don't even know what they're calling it. With Liam Neeson. I cannot wait for it. And it's all because Airplane came out 45 years ago today. I watched Airplane with my youngest son, Dylan, a year or two ago, and he was probably 18, 19. I was so excited to watch it with him. I don't know if he laughed once. I was so disappointed. I guess humor's different. We watched Animal House once, one of my favorite movies, nothing.
Really?
So I don't know if it's for the kids, but for those of a certain age, like me, Naked Gun cannot come out soon enough.
Yeah, I remember the original Naked Gun movies. I thought they were hilarious. I mean, some such, it was kind of smart humor, but then it was like really dumb humor for most of it. So I don't know. But I'm looking at this now. I mean, even just the stills of Liam Neeson. I mean, he's definitely. I wonder, is he going to be the same character? Is he going to be Frank?
Yeah, he's Frank. I think he's Frank Drebin's kid. I think all the main people are the kids of the original. And just interestingly, he's got the same initials: Leslie Nielsen, Nielsen, Liam,
Neeson.
Whatever. Yes, exactly. Thank you. Kind of fits that role. Yeah, it looks great. I encourage you to check out the trailer because I watched it and said, I want to watch that now.
Pamela Anderson's in this too? Okay, I'm going to have to watch this.
There you go. I buried the lead right there. It's very good. Let's pause here. Lavelle E. Neal III. Did he like airplane? I have no idea. We'll find out. We'll catch up on some Twins, some soccer, some football, some hoops. I'm going to keep him as long as he wants to be here. He joins now.
Want to keep your personal number private but still stay connected? With Line 2, you can get a second phone line right on your device with a super simple app and no need for another phone. Whether it's for online shopping, dating, or shielding your main number from spam, Line 2 is an easy way to manage it all. Ready for peace of mind without breaking the bank? Call, text, block, and more for only $9.99. Get started with line2.com/audio or download Line 2 in any app store today. Line 2, your second line simplified.
Next on the Fan. Back with you, 5:36 on a Wednesday afternoon as we inch closer and closer to the July 4th holiday. Dave Sinykin in for Dan today. Sam by my side, and I'm very happy to welcome in studio, a bit of a surprise to me, Lavelle E. Neal III in the house. So happy to have you here, my man. How you doing?
I'm doing swell. Thanks for having me. I just took it for granted you wanted me in studio.
I would never, I always would want it, but I don't want to, make you come across town and drive through drive time and make your way in. I'm thrilled that you're here. And as I said, I'm here till 6:25. You can stay as long as you like. You want to bug out so you have a good seat to watch soccer. So wherever you're going to watch it at your favorite watering hole, that's cool with me. If you want to hang through these next few segments, I would love that as well. I'll leave that. I might annoy you enough that you just, on the fly say, I'm out.
Now that I'm untangled from this damn cord, I'll probably hang until about 6:15 or so.
We'll blame that on Superstar. I think he was sitting there last. And
Lord.
Knowing Superstar, he probably got himself all tangled up.
Okay.
It was kind of cool to hear him back on the airwaves today with the Common Man on the 2 o'clock.
I missed it. I knew he wasn't going to sit there. I was worried about how this room was going to smell after you left it, because in the past, he would leave his mark in the studio. Woo!
I didn't detect anything that bothered me, so I think he's come a long way, apparently.
Great.
I mentioned to you during the break that when we're done here, or at least when I'm done, because you're going to bug out early, when we're done at 6:30, we are going to carry some soccer. Your favorite sport? Second? Where is it with you?
I probably like I like all sports generally.
Top 5, though, for sure, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't register for me in probably my top 10, but I appreciate the game. I know you love it, and we're carrying the U.S. women's national team in a friendly against Canada. So
yeah, this is a scheduling mistake because the United States men are playing Guatemala at 6. In the semis of the Gold Cup. And so the women are coming on at 6:30. So there's a little scheduling snafu there. I'm surprised they got the women's game playing at the same time.
Do you want Abbott's number? You could text him real quick, because I'm happy to come out at 6.
No.
If you want to put the men on, I can get home and get ready for my poker game tonight.
Well, Canada and U.S. Historically have not liked each other very much. I don't know if that hatred still exists, because a lot of the main combatants have retired or moved on with their careers. So the United States, I know, historically the men hate Guatemala because it's always it's a pain in the ass to go out in there for qualifying, for World Cup qualifying. They don't have to qualify this year because they're a host. For the next World Cup, because they are the host team.
Right.
But they used to go down to Guatemala, and the bands would be playing outside the hotel at 4 o'clock in the morning. I think the the locker room is small and it's under the stands and people can actually jump on top of the roof.
Oh, really?
So they're making a big racket, and then the referees get caught up into that whole atmosphere. So USA can't do anything right. If they touch a guy, the guy flops, and then they get the card pulled out on them. It's just CONCACAF, man. CONCACAF. That's what the Confederation's all about.
The women are the top seeded team, my understanding is. Canada's number 8. Mm-hmm. This is the third of 3 matches. Define friendly. Like, whenever I hear they're playing a friendly, my mind goes like normal people would. Like, are they all going to hold hands before the game? Why do they? Where does that word come from? Do you know?
I don't know why it's called friendly, but it's just it's not an official game. It's for training and development purposes, but people come watch these friendlies, it's not like a tournament game or anything like that. There's nothing on it. And in recent years, like for the men, they've come up with the Nations League, which, you play all your countries in the region now. You get points for it, and it counts for the FIFA rankings. And it they kind of use that to replace friendlies and have some meaningful games that actually, mean something. You got an award to win and things like that. So, I'm guessing the women's game will probably take that same route as their game continues to grow. They get big crowds over in Europe, and the Premier League is a big deal, But, we saw the United States women here a few months ago playing China, and Emma Hayes has expanded the talent pool. She's got the USA ranked top in the world again. They have a super young superstar named Lily Johannes, a midfielder who's just fabulous. And I think she just is transferring to a big club in Europe. What did I say? France, maybe. The program looks like it's headed in the right direction. One of my favorite players, Rose Lavelle, is back from injury.
Of course, she's your favorite.
And she was a force in their game last week.
Distant cousin or what?
No, I know. So,
where'd your love from soccer? Did you grow up? Did you always love soccer, or is it something you acquired?
It was my brother was a big fan. I just kind of was paying half attention to it, but I knew it existed. But when the World Cup came here in 1994, I kind of got hooked on it. So. Then the next step was, okay, where are all these guys playing when there's no World Cups? And I started following the English Premier League and League One and the Spanish League and the Italian League and the Bundesliga in Germany, starting to try to follow the superstars and where they played at. Then MLS started, and then national American players are now good enough to go over to Europe and hang. We've got a bunch of guys over here, so it's another reason to follow. So it just kind of built, but the 94 World Cup kind of set the stage. That kind of planted the seeds for me. So I was able to cover the USA Brazil game in that World Cup. And that was on July 4th. So it was a great event on the holiday. And ever since then, I've been kind of following it.
Have you asked your bosses at the Minnesota Star Tribune whether you can head to the World Cup next year at one of the locales?
Those conversations have not started yet. I'm guessing we'll do some sort of coverage. I don't know if we're going to cover games or not. I mean, we just found out we're not covering the Olympics, which has really got me bummed out, but it's just too damn expensive. It's going to cost like 30, 40 grand a person to go over to Italy for the Winter Olympics.
Oh, that's a shame, though. How fun would that be?
I know. The thing is, because I covered the Beijing Olympics, which was just fabulous, even though it was during COVID and it was in China and where everything was kind of shut down. It was still a great event. And there were 30 Minnesotans on the U.S. Olympic team that year. And so there was a story every day. Every day there was something to write. And me and Rachel Blount were like running all over the country, going up to mountains to cover skiing events, to keep up with Jesse Diggins and all those other folks. The curling team, because John Schuster has been to I think that was his 4th World Cup. It was just really good storyline. So I like those big events.
Have you been to Italy before?
No, I've not been to Italy too. So
I got to go once with the family. It's unbelievable.
I wish I would have went to China when there wasn't a threat of COVID. So and God, the flight, it took me 38 hours to come back.
What?
Yeah, there was a 10-hour layover in Tokyo, and then that flight from Tokyo to LA is not short. It is not. I learned that one. But the Japanese airplane, Air Japan, had a bidet in the bathroom. I didn't come out for a half an hour.
Oh, my goodness.
I was like, can go cold, warm, hot. You can go soft, hard, pressure.
We've hit the TMI portion of the program at this point. I will now go to sleep tonight with my vision of you in the airplane bathroom in the bidet. That's wonderful. Thank you for that.
Interject here for just a second. I did put up the bat signal to Abbott, and he did verify we are carrying the women's team at 6:30.
It is the women's game at 6:30.
Interesting. I wonder what type of viewership is going to get with the men playing at the same time.
We don't care about viewership. We care about listenership here at the Fan.
Well, that too.
Twins underway right now, top of the first, down in Miami. They have dropped 3 straight. They lose pitchers every few days. Is there any... Okay, Royce Lewis is back. What other positivity can you find right now for your favorite baseball team?
Brooks Lee is coming along nicely as a hitter. He hit 340 in the month of June with a 923 OPS. You see a guy who is learning what to swing at, what not to chase, stays in the strike zone, takes good at bats. When he gets a pitch, he's taking more of a confirmed hack at it than before when he was kind of flipping the bat out there. And he's a switch hitter too. And he's not a shrimp. He's about 210 pounds, 215 pounds. And he's going to probably fill out a little bit more. He's going to probably develop some power. But I like what I see from Brooks Lee. He's good enough to play shortstop. He's probably better suited to play third than Royce, to be honest with you. I think Royce would profile better at second. And Brooks, so far, I don't know if this still is true, but I checked a few weeks ago, and like all his errors were at second base. And when he's playing on the left side of the field, he's been flawless, So I don't know if that's a giveaway or not. But I'm a fan of his because he's quiet. He's got a quiet stance. He doesn't wave the bat. He doesn't have a high leg kick. Matt Wallner kind of ties himself up a lot because he's got that huge big leg kick, and then he's diving in toward the plate. He's got to make sure he's coming up and down with that big ham hock of his. And so I think sometimes it screws up his timing. But Brooks doesn't have that problem. He's quiet like Paul Molitor in the box. I'm not saying he's hitting like Paul Molitor.
Right.
He's just quiet like Molitor in the batter's box. And so I think he's coming along nicely. And I can't wait to see the version of Brooks 2 years from now when he has even more experience.
Royce came back last night, first at bat, rips one down the left field line. Everybody watched him circle first and go to second. He didn't he knew he had a double. He didn't have to put the Jets on. But sight for sore eyes to have him back in the lineup.
I know. We'll see how long this lasts, because last year when he came back from a leg injury, Rocco, he told us, he's like, I'm going to tell Royce to run at 80% the rest of the season. But that's hard to do once when you hit a chopper, you're trying to beat it out for your hit, and your instincts and your want to takes over, So, because Royce pulled his hamstring running to first base in Houston. I was there. Just happened to be there for my brother's birthday trip, and we saw it take place. So, that's the one head-scratching thing about Royce is that, when Buxton was having injury problems, most of them, especially earlier in his career, was blunt force, getting hit with a pitch, jamming a knee into a base, crashing into a wall, double-A, colliding with Mike Woznicka and getting a concussion. With Royce is soft tissue injuries, man. So I don't know what's up with that. They've got trainers, they got chefs. He's a Scott Boras client, so Boras has his own wing on his compound for athletic performance that he can use. He still, breaks down. It's just a head scratcher.
Remember back in the month of May, we were all thinking, "Wow, what a rotation! This rotation is going to send this team as far as we think we want them to go." Mm-hmm. Well, funny, now we've lost Lopez and Zebby, and now Bailey Ober is on the 15-day injured list with a hip injury. What can the Twins do?
They're in trouble. First of all, they needed Bailey Ober to fix himself, because it was going to take him and Ryan fronting the rotation to kind of keep things afloat until Pablo came back. And he's been pitching with this hip impingement for a while. They kept saying he can manage it and it's not going to screw him up. I'm always worried when a pitcher has any sort of ache and pain, especially with his legs or his hips, because it could screw up your mechanics.
Why would they let him try to fight through that?
Apparently, they felt that he didn't have a risk of aggravating it or making it worse or getting out of whack. But what happened was his numbers are out of whack. He's getting hit harder than he's ever been hit. He's getting up more homers for sure. And so I think this is the right move. Now, this leaves the Twins in the middle of chaos now with this rotation, because once again, I went to Houston. I actually went in the clubhouse and talked to Rocco before a game, and I was like, "So who are your options now that you got two guys out?" And because Zebby was out and Pablo was out, and who's your next option? He said, "Well, Andrew Morris would be an option at AAA. Well, Morris just got put on the injured list. And I said, okay, what about after that? And he says, bullpen game. I was like, oh, no. So they may resort to starting a reliever now every fifth day.
Really?
And just doing a bullpen game until someone gets healthy. Zebby's started a throwing program, but I don't know if he's progressed to throwing in the bullpen or facing hitters yet or not. They're going to need him sooner or later.
As pear-shaped as things have gone, do we get to a point in July where we start the usual, are they buyers or are they sellers? Are they going to be sellers the way things are going?
People have been asking me that for 3 weeks now. It's
the first time I've seen you. I would have asked you then,
when
too.
When they hit the skids, people start, they got to sell. And I'm like, let's hold on now. Things could change. And they were trying to play a little bit better there until this last stretch. They're headed toward selling. I can't deny at this point. And that's the direction they're headed. I know Falvey said during the last homestand that he hadn't even entertained the possibility of being a seller, because you can change your mind. Heck, the Falvey one year decided to be a seller, traded someone. I think it was Brandon Kinsler, and then turned around and traded for a starter. No, he traded for Javi Garcia. The end of the road, he made one start. The Twins played their way out of a realistic postseason spot, and he flipped around and traded Garcia a week later. So he knows how to pivot. So he could change his mind in a hurry. But right now, I don't see the Twins looking to add. And a month ago, I would be clamoring for a bat, to be honest with you, because I thought the rotation was going to be built to last. Now they can use a starter, which is tough in baseball to find a starter because there's always teams looking for pitching. That's a tougher nut to crack. So it'd be interesting. I'm curious, and I'm saying this because I'm not happy with his performance. I mean, Carlos Correa right now has a 0 WAR. Zero. Yeah, he's great defensively. Offensively, he's not getting it done. Is there a team out there that's a contender that needs a shortstop? Could the Twins agree to eat half that salary and move him if the Twins are definitely sellers?
How much more time on his deal does he have?
3 or 4 more years.
Oh, really?
Then he got out or something. So, but he's making $33.33 million a season. Along the baseball calendar, he's making $192,000 a day. And he's not hitting. Yeah. And I know he's trying. He's been trying to take better at bats and stay in the strike zone better. It's not clicking. His Twins career has not been like his Astros career, unfortunately. And if there's a way for the Twins to get out of this, I think they should look at it because they've got Brooks Lee. They could put it short.
Who, by the way, just knocked in the Twins' first run of the day. They already have as many hits as they had last night. And they got a guy to third base. He actually came home. Buxton scored. I think it was a sac fly. I went to the box score, and Brooks Lee is 0 for 0 with an RBI.
Okay.
So I did the math in my head. I figured that was probably a sacrifice fly. 1-0 middle of the first for your Minnesota Twins as they look to snap a 3-game losing streak. Marlins, I think, have won 8 straight.
Yes.
Maybe you said this and I missed it. Is there a team that you think could use a Carlos Correa that would absorb the money and want the chance to maybe get him back to what he was?
Well, the Yankees, one of the Yankees beat writers speculated about it during the offseason that the Yankees should make a run at him. But they have Anthony Volpe at short, and he's okay. Yeah, Francisco Lindor playing shortstop for the Mets. He's not going anywhere. But when the Mets were interested in Correa, they were interested in him as to play third base. Carlos is hitting like a third baseman. I'm sorry. If you're going to be a third baseman, I need to see 30 homers and 100 RBIs from you. You don't
have to be Mike Schmidt, but just give us a little punch.
Right. So you just have to kind of look around the league and see who could use. I can't remember who the Giants shortstop is, but they just traded for Rafael Devers, so they may be out of spending cash too. So it may be limited. It may not exist. But if the Twins are definitely going to sell, I wouldn't put it past them to at least feel somebody out for possibly making a transaction like that.
Okay, we'll keep our eyes out. I just perused the Bradshaw and Bryan KFAN text line, and I want to get to the soccer text before we go to our first break here.
All right.
This from Jeremy in Edina. Soccer talk on the fan at drive time. I had to check my dial. Thanks, Lavelle. What's your take on the Ponch? Is that the name? Ponch or Ponk? Ponch regime?
So it's Mauricio Pochettino.
Okay.
And actually, it's funny you brought that up because I wrote a column for tomorrow. It's running in tomorrow's editions.
Nice.
And it may be online now, but Cody Cropper, who's a former goalkeeper, he spent a few years playing in England, spent 7 years in MLS, represented the United States on the youth national level. He's got a little bit of a career. I did a story on him because he's the Minnesota Aurora goalkeeping coach. He's also the St. Thomas men's assistant coach. So I started talking to him today, and we started talking about the national team, and he mentioned that he played for Pochettino. So he played for a young Ponch when he was at Southampton. So that blew my mind.
Yeah.
So I had to weave that through the story.
That's perfect.
Yeah. So, and Cropper spoke highly of him. He says, because there's a guy named Diego Luna, and Pochettino came out and said he likes the guy because he's only like 5'7", but he's got big balls. He said that. That was his quote.
I don't think I have to hit the 7-second delay for that. I don't.
No.
If I do, it's too late anyway.
So, then Cropper went on to explain that he likes to play. Ponch likes players who play with their emotions on their sleeve, who put all their effort, who are nonstop, who are relentless, and he sees that in people like Diego Luna. So he thinks Ponch is going to work out. He said it's going to take a while for him to get everything together, but he thinks by the time World Cup rolls around, the U.S. will be ready to string together some good results.
There's some pressure, isn't there, in the fact that so disappointing over the years. Now you're hosting. Yeah. Huge opportunity. That's interesting. That'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, if the United States crashes out in group stage, it would be a disaster here. And the Pochettino era would probably end right then and there. So if they can get out of the group stage and maybe win a knockout round game, I think a lot of people would be satisfied.
Cool. All right, well, we got Lavelle for one more segment. Let's talk about the other football. I got you in the house. It's July. We've woven some NFL talk throughout the show today. Now it's Packers and Bears together. Let's chat about that when we come back. Lavelle in the house for another segment.
You know that feeling when you're about to score 30% off, but they want your number? Ugh. Give them your Line 2 number instead. It's a second line on your phone, perfect for nabbing promo codes without inviting spam to your party. Sign up for every discount under the sun, then block the junk texts that follow. You get all the perks, but none of the spammy baggage. More codes, less chaos. Visit line2.com/audio or download Line 2 in the App Store and get your shopping sidekick today. Because the only thing blowing up your phone should be good deals.
Fan. 6:01 on a Wednesday afternoon, and we are back. Sinykin and Lavelle E. Neal III hanging out for another segment here. Lavelle, right before you joined, I was talking about 45 years ago today, the movie Airplane came out. One of my favorites at the time, still love it, and that gave birth to the Naked Gun movies, and there's a new remake with Liam Neeson taking over the Frank Drebin role, and Seth MacFarlane writing that sucker. And we had a 612 guy asked me to ask your thoughts on Airplane and those Naked Gun movies. Are you a fan?
I was. I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in that scene? Come on.
Hilarious.
You try to carry, was it Lanier?
Lanier.
Up and down the corner.
Somebody, I think it had two centers. I forget. Walton and Lanier. That's what it was.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
It's so clever. And again, you have to have a certain sense of humor to appreciate that. But yeah, I love it as well. And I am looking, and I'm getting ripped on the text line because a number of guys saw the new trailer and they thought it looked stupid. I disagree. I thought it looked exactly like what these kind of movies are.
I'm curious to see how Liam pulls this off because I'm used to seeing him play tough, hard-nosed characters, Well,
I mentioned, did you see the movie Ted? Because he had a cameo in Ted where he does that. He's buying a box of tricks and he's acting like he's stealing something.
I forgot that scene.
He's so deadpan. I think he can pull it off.
Okay.
Looking forward to it.
I watched the trailer during one of our breaks in the last hour, and clearly he's playing a caricature of himself in like Taken and things like that. So what I told you, Sinykin, is that I don't expect it to win any Oscars, but it's going to be a fun summer movie. I mean, people have to be able to just go to the theater and get some laughs out and have some fun.
Expectations are key. You're not going in to watch an Oscar contender. That is for sure.
Right.
Sam gave news in the 5 o'clock hour that the Vikings are not sure that Christian Darrisaw is going to be ready for week 1.
What?
How did you put it? The picture is not rosy? Something?
Yeah, I'll have to let me find the article.
You used the word rosy, and not in the typical fan sense.
It was, if I remember correctly, it was Alec Lewis mentioned that a Vikings insider said that it's not likely that Darrisaw will be ready for week 1. I'll find the quote.
And obviously, we know.
Was it a knee or a shoulder with him?
Knee. It was an ACL, was it not?
Okay.
And we asked, well, who's going to replace him? And a texter reminded me that they signed Justin School, who played with the Buccaneers the last few years, I think he had 5 starts for them. He might be aligned to start. But, I mean, not ideal.
No. When
your rookie quarterback is facing all this pressure with the expectations of the team around him, starting his career in your favorite stadium, in prime time. So a road game, and his blind side is going to be protected by not a potential all-pro left tackle. And
Montez Sweat is healthy this year after playing most of last year banged up.
You're just saying.
As of now, he's healthy. Just
saying.
And the quote was that it says Vikings Insider says Week 1 Darrisaw return is, quote, probably a rosy expectation.
Wow. He's not totally ruling out, but he's not painting a good picture either.
I think it's setting expectations. Like, just don't assume it's a new season. He's back. Injured in October, so it's 11 months removed, and every player's different. Some are ready, some are not. Like, from the Packers' perspective, Christian Watson tears his ACL in January. They believe by November, so that's 10 months. He's a smaller individual. I mean, I think that weighs in, whether it's a tackle or a receiver, and obviously how bad the injury is. There's certainly elements to that. It's July. It's the deadest time, obviously, of the NFL season.
Right.
So I threw out a question when the show started.
This used to be the most dangerous time because the NFL players got their act together, but there was always a police blotter
That's true.
flare up. The month before training camp opened was like the most dangerous time for teams, worrying about their players screwing up and getting arrested for stupid crap.
Yeah, checking to see who signed on to Alan Alma's boat in July. You had to keep an eye on that.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right.
There was a stretch there where the Vikings were leading the NFL in arrest.
Oh, believe me, I made the most of that. I did not let that statistic slide. That's for sure. So I threw out that if your favorite team could steal one current player from any other team and have them on your team without giving up anything, who would you pick? So from the Vikings, I got the obvious. Give me Lamar Jackson. For Vikings fans, I didn't get as many cornerbacks as I thought. I might see a Patrick Surtain take, but no, I saw running back Saquon, Jahmyr Gibbs. So Mr. Bears guy, if we could give you a player to add to your team, what direction do you go?
Mahomes.
What took you so long to? You could have drafted Mahomes. Do you realize that?
I know.
He was available when your team drafted.
He reminded the Bears of that when he roasted him in his first game against him.
Yes,
so,
as he should.
Yeah, give me Mahomes. I mean, I know. We got Caleb Williams, but take the sure thing. If you tell me to take one guy, if it wasn't a quarterback, maybe say non-quarterback. If it was a non-quarterback.
Isn't it like Saquon? Don't you need that running back to make Ben Johnson's offense just sing?
Yeah, because DeAndre Swift, the statistics show that he bounces everything outside, does not run between the tackles. So that would definitely help. I'm thinking because we have a need for a defensive end, I would like maybe T.J. Watt or something like that. Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was my pick for my team.
Yeah.
Give me a premier pass rusher because that's. The Packers are hoping Lucas Van Ness in his third year develops into that. He was very young when they drafted him. They have no idea outside of Rashawn Gary, who, if he gets doubled, becomes a non-factor. So that's a big need for.
Where did he go to school, Van Ness? Was that Iowa?
Iowa.
Okay, I remember that. Yeah,
and he didn't start for them. Remember, he was a rotational guy, but he just had the physical attributes that people were drooling over, but he hasn't shown it just yet. All right, so I'm going to get your temperature on your squad. I was talking with Muss earlier about. I do think Detroit does not win a third straight Northern Division title. I think the loss of the two coordinators is very problematic. They also lost Kevin Zeitler and Frank Ragnow on the inside of their offensive line, and that's not nothing, especially with Jared Goff, who could use protection. He's not the most mobile guy. So that leaves the Packers and Vikings and Bears, to usurp them. And Packers are the second pick right now in the odds. Vikings third, Bears fourth, but it's fairly close between Vikings and Bears. What's a successful season look like for you as we sit here July 2nd for your team?
What winning record? Give me 9 to 10 wins. I think if you have 9 wins, if you have 8 wins going into the final week, you still may have a shot at a wild card. So that would be definitely a step forward after the disaster we had last year. And you have to remember, the Bears won 5 games last year, and 4 were just because of coaching malpractice. So you take Eberflus out of the equation, they should be better in that regard. The schedule's going to be a little tougher because we play the AFC North this year, the Cleveland, Baltimore, Cincinnati,
And the NFC West, which is tough too.
Right. But I don't think the Bears are going to win just one game in the division this year. We won one game last year. Now
Same with the Packers. I'm with you there. I think that's going to improve for my team.
It was a week 18 against you guys. I
remember that. Yeah.
But they were in the game. They were in the first game at Soldier Field against the Packers.
Yes, they were.
They screwed up. Screwed up the Lions game on Thanksgiving Day.
Yep.
The Bears at home took the Vikings to overtime. Remember they came back in the fourth quarter?
Yes.
So I'm sitting there going, we're not that far off. Now, yes, majority of NFL games end up being by one score, but I saw enough of those moments that the Bears can play competitive football. If we just clean up some stuff and, we repaired our interior offensive line like the Vikings did, signing Dahlman, trading for Jackson and getting Joe Tooney from the Chiefs, So that's going to help Caleb. But Caleb is starting with a brand new system. It's almost like he's not a rookie, but he's still going to getting to learn a new system. Let's see how that goes. That first game, I can see both quarterbacks having a lousy game week one just because they need some more. They would need some more reps.
And they're playing tough defenses too.
Exactly.
What'd you make of the reports that Caleb said he would watch film by himself last season? Like they would just put him in a room and no one there to talk to him about what he's looking at. Talk about coaching malpractice. How does that even work?
I was furious when I read that. I was like, "What?" Okay, because we went through multiple offensive coordinators. We had Luke Getsy, and he was a terrible guy. And I think Luke's with the Raiders now, right?
I think so. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so then we brought in Shane Waldron from Seattle, and there were concerns about Waldron right off the bat.
Yeah,
the players were begging to be coached harder. And so. Caleb not having anyone to watch film with, that doesn't surprise me if we're talking about Shane Waldron. So it's just another reason why these last 2 years have just been aggravating. 2 years ago, they had two coaches be dismissed because of HR issues. And then last year we had this mess with the offensive coordinator. 3 of them, right? Yeah, because we had Waldron and we got rid of him. Then we promoted.
Oh, yeah. What was that dude's name?
Thomas Brown?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah. So we went through all that upheaval. It was just a forgetful year. I mean, beating the Packers is always great. And
it was the first time in this millennium, I think. It was finally due.
And we got the trophy sitting at Allery's. There's a traveling trophy now between Allery's and camp.
Is that right?
So whoever wins the game, they get to take the trophy.
I love it.
So we gleefully marched over to camp.
Of course you did.
And got the trophy and marched it back to the Allery's.
Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen, I think you've moved up a little bit in the old coaching department. That should help.
The United States has taken a 1-0 lead on Guatemala already.
You got to go.
We're 5 minutes into the game.
All right, I'm going to let you go because you got to get to your favorite watering hole to watch it. Column tomorrow in the Star Tribune, soccer related.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get the rest of the holiday weekend off?
I got to write for Sunday. I'm writing my thoughts on the Wild's off season so far.
Wonderful. That's not in the horror section. That's in the sports section.
That'll be in the sports section.
All right. Enjoy your soccer. Thank you so much for sitting in. Always a pleasure chatting with you, Lavelle.
Thanks for having me.
Lavelle E. Neal III. We'll come back and wrap it up.
Some matches are temporary, but your privacy shouldn't be. With Line 2, you get a second phone line just for dating. No need to share your personal number until you're ready. You can chat, text, and even block numbers, all while keeping things fun and private. It's perfect for online dating, blind dates, or just keeping things light. When you're ready to move on, Line 2 lets you cut ties without any drama. Dating should be fun and carefree. Line 2 keeps it that way. Ready to date on your terms? Visit line2.com/audio or download Line 2 in the App Store today.
After these. Final segment of the Bumper to Bumper program today. Dave Sinykin in the big seat. Appreciate the opportunity from Abbott and the bosses here. Always fun the last couple days. I'll enjoy the holiday and be back Saturday morning with Double T for In the Zone, Saturdays at 8 o'clock. Hope you're up for that. If not, always podcastable on the iHeart Radio app. The Miami Marlins have tied up the Twins, scored a run on the bottom of the second. We're in the top of the third now. It's 1-1. Something called Jansen Junk pitching for the Marlins. That's actually a pretty cool name. You You can't have a great fastball. You got to be a guy that just throws junk, right?
Yep.
If you have a name like that.
It's almost like I've heard baseball players over the years. Some of them just sound made up at this point.
Yes.
Like I don't have the story in front of me now, but the player that was called up when Bailey Ober was sent to IL was a name that shouldn't even be a name. I don't know. I'll look it up now because it's going to bug me.
Yeah, do that. Again, Ober on the IL. That was announced the last hour or two. Hip impingement. Lavelle said he's been dealing with it for quite a while. They hoped he could pitch through it. Clearly, he's not been the same guy the last 7 starts. They finally put him on the shelf for a while. So retroactive to June 29th. My guess is we don't see him until after the All-Star break, but hopefully he'll look more like the Bailey Ober of the first couple months of the season when he was off to such a great start. We will have soccer following this program. It's a friendly between the U.S. women's national team and Team Canada. And we'll carry that as soon as our program is over on the Fan today. I think it's best of tomorrow for this program as the holiday weekend kicks into gear. Sam, do you do anything fun for 4th of July? Any plans? Are you a family man? What's your story?
I'll be with my nephew tomorrow. On Friday. And then actually my birthday is on Saturday, so I have a bunch of stuff lined up for that.
Oh, very nice. Happy birthday. That's
you.
Outstanding. Always right around the 4th, so you get that double.
It's like National Hangover Day, so nobody's really ever interested in doing anything on my birthday.
Probably pretty true.
But the name I was thinking of, so the Twins promoted Cody Funderburk, and I do not have to dump that, but another name that's like...
There was a basketball player named Lawrence Funderburk who played at Indiana. That's why I remember it. And then he transferred to Ohio State, and he became the enemy because he stayed in the Big Ten. And I think he tried to make it in the NBA. I don't think he ever did. The other news we mentioned, again, a couple texters saying, why were we even expecting Darisaw to be ready week 1? As long as he's ready by week 4 or 5, all is good. Agreed. It's not like he needs to be out there week 1. We understand that. It's a long season. But when you've got one of the better left tackles in football and you're throwing out a quarterback who's starting his career on a team that believes it has postseason potential, it's just not ideal to have a backup left tackle out there in week 1, especially the way the schedule is out. You've got the schedule's tough early.
Yep. Yeah, you took the thought right out of me. I was going to say, this seems like a Hawkinson deal all over again because the Vikings play at Soldier Field week 1, then they play Atlanta and Cincinnati at home, then they do their 2 games in Europe, and then they have their bye week. So it's one of those things where it's like they might wait till after the bye week if they wanted to just be cautious and make sure he was 100%, but then that puts you into week... What is that? Week 6 or no? Week 7. But
do they have the bye week 6? Or are they taking their bye after the 2 games in Europe?
Europe games. Yep. So it's that's what, a third of the season that's gone before the bye week. So it's one of those things where it's going to be interesting to see how they adapt because McCarthy needs to be set up for success if this team is going to have a chance to win this season. Yeah,
I think it will impact the way O'Connell calls plays. Now, I don't know how much faith they have in Justin School, and he was signed as the tackle, the swing tackle in the offseason. I know he started a few games for Tampa Bay, which is a playoff team. I don't know if he was a left or right tackle for them, but he may be the guy that's thrown out there. And yeah, you expect the Vikings early, I would think, to be a bit more conservative than we've seen in the past, with a guy just cutting his teeth. Again, you mentioned Atlanta and Cincinnati at home. And their home games, you feel good about that. But those are 2 teams with high expectations as well. One very good quarterback and one sort of up-and-coming quarterback. But, yeah, I would think most Viking fans, if you told them, look, he'll be back after the bye at 100% for the last 10 weeks of the season, there's nothing wrong with that. That's as long as you know you got him and he's fine, you can wait because you're not going to be out of business after week 6. No matter what happens. Those road games, those European games aren't the hardest games on the schedule. And the fact that you get to stay there a week, you'll have the advantage, having been there and not dealing with the travel the second week after the Dublin game. Little hop over to London, not a big deal. All right, let's review where we've been these last 3 hours and change. We talked about the Lynx losing the Cup last night, the Twins, the power outage for both those teams. Twins at least have scored tonight. Which is a nice change of pace after the last 2 weeks. I want to thank all the guests that joined the program today. It began with Muss in the 3 o'clock hour. I think the first time Muss and I have had a chance to sit and talk football on the station. It was a blast. I hope we do it again. It was a border battle in July. He wasn't quite as purple fog, purple haze as I thought he would be. He's fairly realistic. Looking at a 10-win season would be successful for him. Feels about right to me. If JJ handles this offense the way I think most hope him to do that, 10 wins with this schedule would be a win. Yeah, it's 4 less than last year, but that didn't feel like a 14-win team necessarily, but they got there. It didn't end well, but they got there. Musk joined at 3:30. I thank him for that. Pat Micheletti joined in the 4 o'clock hour. We caught up on the hockey news. Wild add 5 or 6 players today. No one that's going to really move the needle a lot. Bigger news today was the fact that NHL players will return to the Winter Olympics next year in Italy for the first time since 2014. So kind of playing off the popularity of the Four Nations face-off and how much the TV ratings went crazy, the players bought into it, and nothing like international sports. We've seen it, obviously, in basketball as well. So the NHL players return to the Olympics. Mick talked about that at the 4 o'clock hour. Johnny Athletic joined John Krasinski at 4:30 on the Wolves' early off-season. We also dove into a little bit on the Malik Beasley gambling situation, and we talked, Sam and I, about the fact that ESPN commentator Mark Spears believes the Timberwolves are the top destination in his mind. Let me put that in quotes, in his mind, for Damian Lillard, who will have his choice of teams to play next after being released by the Bucks yesterday. Johnny Athletic joined at 4:30, and then, as you know, Lavelle E. Neal, kind enough to sit in for a couple segments as he gets set to go watch the men U.S. team battle Guatemala at his favorite watering hole. I thank all those gentlemen for making this show better today. A lot of fun being here with you, Sam, for the first time. Really good to meet you and hang with you. Hope we can do it again. Maybe we'll get you in on a Saturday morning in the zone. I hear you go back a while with that show.
I do. I'd be honored.
We'd love to have you when Blakemore can't make it. Appreciate your fine work today. Stay tuned. It's U.S. Women's National Team Soccer against Canada. That is next on the Fan. Have a wonderful 4th. I'll be back in here Saturday morning in the zone with Double T. Hope you can join us then. Have a great night.
Want to keep your personal number private but still stay connected? With Line 2, you can get a second phone line right on your device with a super simple app and no need for another phone. Whether it's for online shopping, dating, or shielding your main number from spam, Line 2 is an easy way to manage it all. Ready for peace of mind without breaking the bank? Call, text, block, and more for only $9.99. Get started with line2.com/audio or download Line 2 in any app store today. Line 2, your second line simplified.